Hello, I'm Maddie Harlan from Permaculture magazine, and I am at the Oxford Real Farming Conference 2020, and I'm with Hannah Thorogood, and I think we could say that you run the Inkpot Organic Farm, and this is a farm that is a permaculture farm as well.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the farm. Who lives there? How big is it? What do you farm?
Okay. So the core of the Inkpot Organic Farm is an 18-acre field that is our home field. When I say our, it's myself and my twin daughters, 12-year-old daughters, who are equal decision makers, co-farmers. They do go to school, but they manage to get a lot of time in with the farm and definitely telling me where my decisions have gone wrong. So we make that together. We have some good family decisions. But we've been farming there for 10 years now. This is our 10th year. And what's been lovely as we've been working with the land and really regenerating it from a very, very depleted arable field. It was depleted of any diversity. The soil was very, very compacted, had no soil life in it whatsoever. And as that field is coming back to life, the local community is seeing what we're doing and offering us other fields to work with. So where we started with 18 acres, we now also have 5 different landlords, and we now graze 55 acres in total on all sorts of various exchanges and lovely partnerships really. So the farm has grown massively really in those years, and it's just really exciting taking on other bits of land. So we mainly graze. So it's quite interesting being a permaculture farm that is predominantly grassland. So when people come, they're often looking for where are all the trees.
What's your forest garden?
Yeah, exactly. We do have a forest garden. We do have vegetables. We're mainly self-reliant on vegetables, on a lot of our fruit, but we also do get in a veg box. I'm not trying to be 100% self-sufficient because I feel that that's actually a little bit of a red herring, and it's much more about community resilience.
So when you say you graze, what livestock are you?
So we have cows and sheep and goats that graze together in what's called a flerd, a combined flock and a herd. And we move them on every day on a holistically managed time-controlled grazing system, which is a mouthful, as you can see me stumbling over it. So we often just refer to it as mob grazing. Yeah. But mob grazing can actually mean all sorts of different things. Yeah, there is actually a plan. Yeah. I like to remind myself there is actually a plan.
And do you use electric fencing?
Yeah, we do.
So do you want to explain in a nutshell? I know that this is actually a huge subject. Yeah. We're talking about holistic planned grazing. Can you explain in a nutshell how you do it and what the benefits are?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a way that we can actually sequester a huge amount of carbon. And how we do that is, you can ask, am I an animal farmer, am I a pasture farmer? Actually, I'm a soil farmer, I'm a carbon farmer. And one of the ways we do that is allowing the grass to grow very, very tall. And so it really establishes a fantastic root system below ground. And that works with the soil in so many different ways. It allows the structure of the soil to be completely different, the soil life to be different, the water absorption to be completely different. And it allows the grass to really grow and actually relax. Grass is a really interesting plant that we often completely overlook. But what happens on a day-to-day basis is we have one big field in an area where the animals will be grazing, and it's split down with electric fencing into smaller areas. And it's almost like across a big square field, I create a ladder with different rungs through electric fencing. So two long lines will go down the middle of the field, say, and then we'll create these different cells that they will graze in on different days. And so we'll open it up and let them through into that area for a day. And they all graze together. They graze quite intensively, but what it gives them is the optimal nutrition, that they're taking the tallest strands of grass and eating that down. They're pooing machines. We love their poo, and they trample down the rest. And what we leave behind is actually the length of the grass that a lot of farmers would put the animals into. But what we then don't do is graze it again for another 3 months normally at least.
So you're moving them onto the next strip, and then you're leaving the dung beetles. Yeah. Do you follow your grazing?
Yeah. So we follow. Yeah, we follow with chickens. So 3 to 5 days behind comes the chickens, and this is the bit that the kids love because it's disgusting. that the cow pats, if you look in summer, the cow pats will have little holes in them.
Yeah.
And what that is are the flies coming along and laying their eggs.
Yeah.
And 3 to 5 days later, those eggs turn into maggots.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
Lovely,
because what
chicken
that
food.
is chicken food. It's a
Yeah.
local free organic protein source
Yeah.
that the chickens love getting into, scratching it up, getting into eating that. And what they do at that point then is eating the protein that's free and available, local and organic, not being brought around the rest of the world, you know, from soya, from growing in what used to be rainforests. But they're also spreading that poo, so that rather than having isolated, dried up cow pats,
which turn into sort of green spots in a field.
Absolutely. It gets spread out and feeds the soil life.
Yeah.
So what that in turn actually helps to do is to create the perfect conditions for a family of bacteria called methanotrophs. And the methanotrophs, what they then do is breathe in methane and poo it out as carbon into the soil. It's a really top thing to be aware of when people are talking about grazing animals.
Because there's so much criticism about ruminants and methane.
Yeah.
But we were hearing Christine Page this morning
absolutely.
saying that cows don't add methane to the atmosphere. They simply cycle it in a carbon methane cycle.
Absolutely.
So it's not like burning fossil fuels and releasing methane, which is a highly toxic greenhouse gas. It's actually cycling something and not increasing it.
Yeah.
And I think this is vital scientific knowledge that we're not hearing in the mainstream media.
No. And when we are grazing in that way, which many farmers here at the Oxford Rural Farming Conference are doing, lots of Pasture-Fed Livestock Association farmers are doing, lots of Regenerative UK farmers are doing, grazing that way, we're actually creating the habitat for the methanotrophs across all of the areas that we're grazing, whether the cows and sheep are there or not. So they're still sucking in that methane, even when the cows and sheep aren't there farting and burping into their faces. and so I'd be quite interested to look into the research as to how much actually of a methane sink a really well-run, well-managed grazing system does.
Okay, so we've got the sheep and the
cows
goats
and the sheep together,
and then 3 days afterwards.
3 to 5 days they're followed by chickens.
And then you rest for how long?
3 months.
Okay. So you've got the cycle moving across the whole land. So $1 million question.
Yeah.
What makes your farm, it's an organic farm and it's a mixed livestock farm, basically grazing your land. What makes it a permaculture farm?
The design behind it.
Exactly. So can you tell us a little bit about that dimension of
so like with
abundance?
like with the grazing plan, it has a plan, there is a plan. Just like with our activities on the farm, it has a plan, there is a design process behind it. So like anything within permaculture, it's fundamentally based on the 3 ethics. And so those would be... What would those be, Maddie?
One of them's
How can you describe them?
And another one's about looking after people. And then there's that whole thing about limits to growth, sharing surplus, fair shares.
Exactly. And so we have the three ethics. But really what makes something permaculture is when you've actually sat down, you've observed your system and you've really thought about what it is that you want that system to do for you. And that system can be anything, whether it's a farm, whether it's a garden, whether it's your business, your website, your community dynamics, anything from marriages to births to deaths, you can use permaculture design for that. And so it's going through a process, and there's a number of different processes that you can base your system on, but they all revolve around the basis of starting with observation and then having a period of consideration where you think about what it is you want to do, how you want to do it, explore all your different options, and then coming up with a design, and that's really decisions of what is the decision that you want to make, what are you going to do. Sometimes that comes like a pretty picture and you can draw it and colour it in and have it that way. Other times it can just be a list of bullet points. And then coming up with an action plan of how you're going to actually do that, rather than just having this amazing dream, but what are your stepping stones to get you there. And once you're doing it and the system's in process, how are you evaluating it? How are you exploring whether it's working and whether it's achieving the initial goals, the initial plans that you
what were
had?
your initial plans for the farm?
So there are many, but but the initial plans were having a lovely base for a family. With the children were always in mind. We moved there when they were 3, and so it was having a home base that they would be safe, but they could also have a future, some sort of future. But it was also not just because I'm really aware that we have this land, if we can call it even having land, that we're custodians of this land through a huge amount of privilege, just luck of genetics and who we're being born to. And so I really wanted to share that with other people. So it's not just the privilege of being able to own land, but also having the access to the courses and the education that I have. I wanted to be able to share that. So it's always been a plan, and it is a permaculture teaching space, a permaculture demonstration place, a people that come and a place that people can come and access, whether they have access to finances or not. And so we have volunteering schemes, we have ways that people can come
and you skill share.
We skill share, we have intern schemes, we have I try and get as much as stuff that I can out on social media, and we have YouTube videos and stuff as well. But
you write occasionally articles.
Sometimes, and it's just a time thing.
Yeah,
so it's trying to get all those things done.
Yeah. And basically, you're developing this farm. You have an overall design for it, and you're in the process of sharing that information as widely as possible in many different ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the goal, is it?
That is the goal. That's the goal. And what's really nice is to be able to look and say, actually, each year those goals are reviewed, and to be able to go, yeah, I think we did something towards that this year. And another side of it that's very important is producing really healthy food that people appreciate, that people want.
And you sell that locally?
We sell it locally, we sell it, we've also started to supply some people further afield, like the Ethical Butcher and Nature Way Farm.
And you've won prizes for
Yeah, we've won National Great Taste Awards for our meat.
It's so yummy.
Yeah, which is lovely. So we also have the turkeys as well that grow underneath the young trees.
And I know that people will ask, so when you come to that point of slaughter, are you able to do that locally?
Yeah, locally. So I did a Masters in Organic Farming before I came into the permaculture world, and my thesis was on how to assess animal welfare. So animal welfare is really, really key to the Inkpot, as well as human welfare. So at every stage in the animals' lives, I take responsibility for what's happening from their birth through their life to their death. And I would not take my animals to an abattoir that I had any concerns about whatsoever. And so I use a number of different abattoirs for the different animals that we have, so I make sure it's the right one for that animal and have really close relationships with those people. So.
Thanks very much. I know that is the tip of an iceberg. A huge subject about the Inkpot farm. We'll put the website right here, and we will. I don't know what we'll do actually.
You'll hear more from us.
We'll hear more from you, given time permitting.
Yeah, okay. But I clone myself.
Thanks very much, Hannah.
Thanks, Maddie. Thank you.
If you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our channel and press the little bell so that you get notified about all our new films that we'll be releasing this year. Thanks very much.